John Horse, a pivotal figure in American history, is often overlooked in mainstream narratives. Born of African and Seminole heritage, he played an essential role in shaping the survival of the Seminole people and African Americans alike. His life, filled with bravery, diplomacy, and leadership, paints a compelling portrait of resistance, survival, and perseverance against systemic oppression. The complex and multifaceted legacy of John Horse offers a unique window into the intertwined histories of Native Americans and African Americans during the 19th century. John Horse, also known as Juan Caballo, was born around 1812 in Florida. His birth was significant in that it occurred during a period when the Seminole Nation had become a refuge for both free blacks and runaway slaves. The blending of African and Native American cultures created a distinctive society in the Seminole Nation, one characterized by cooperation and mutual protection against white settlers. John Horse, through his upbringing in this unique cultural context, grew up with an acute awareness of the dangers posed by slavery and colonial expansion. This awareness shaped his role as a freedom fighter and leader. The early 19th century was a period of turmoil and instability for both African Americans and Native Americans. The Seminole Nation, which had become a sanctuary for runaway slaves, faced increasing pressure from American settlers who sought to expand into Florida. These settlers viewed the alliance between the Seminoles and African Americans as a threat to the institution of slavery, particularly as the Seminoles' practice of harboring runaway slaves was seen as an act of rebellion against white supremacy. The escalating tensions between the Seminole Nation and the United States government culminated in the Seminole Wars, a series of conflicts that would define John Horse's life. John Horse emerged as a leader during the Second Seminole War, which began in 1835. At the time, the U.S. government sought to remove the Seminoles from Florida and relocate them to Indian Territory, modern-day Oklahoma. The Seminoles, along with their African American allies, resisted this forced removal, sparking a bloody conflict that would last for nearly a decade. John Horse's unique position as both a Seminole warrior and a free black man allowed him to serve as a bridge between the two groups, uniting them in their common cause. Throughout the war, John Horse demonstrated extraordinary leadership and strategic prowess. He became one of the key military leaders for the Seminoles, often working closely with the famous Seminole chief Osceola. Horse's knowledge of guerrilla tactics and the dense Floridian landscape allowed the Seminoles to launch effective resistance against the much larger and better-equipped U.S. forces. His role as both a fighter and diplomat was instrumental in the war, as he not only engaged in battle, but also negotiated with American officials to secure better terms for his people. As the war dragged on, however, the Seminoles faced increasing pressure from the U.S. government. Despite their successful military campaigns, the overwhelming force of the U.S. Army eventually wore down the Seminole resistance. By 1842, the war had effectively ended, and most of the Seminoles were forcibly relocated to Indian Territory. John Horse, along with a large number of his African American followers, was among those who were moved west. The relocation to Indian Territory was a difficult transition for both the Seminoles and the African Americans who had fought alongside them. The new territory was fraught with hardship, as the climate, land, and political environment were vastly different from Florida. Moreover, the issue of slavery continued to loom large in the lives of African Americans in the region. Although many African Americans who fought with the Seminoles considered themselves free, their status was often precarious in Indian Territory, where pro-slavery factions sought to re-enslave them. John Horse, ever the leader, continued to advocate for the rights of his people in the face of these challenges. He worked tirelessly to ensure that the African Americans who had fought for their freedom were not returned to slavery. His diplomatic efforts extended beyond his own people, as he often worked with Seminole leaders and American officials to secure protections for African Americans. His leadership during this period was crucial in maintaining the fragile peace and ensuring that African Americans retained their freedom in Indian Territory. However, the struggle for freedom was far from over. By the mid-1840s, John Horse and his followers faced increasing pressure from pro-slavery forces in Indian Territory. The U.S. government, under the influence of Southern slaveholders, sought to undermine the autonomy of African Americans living among the Seminoles. Fearing that his people would be re-enslaved, John Horse made the bold decision to lead them on a journey to Mexico, where slavery had been abolished. The migration to Mexico was a perilous undertaking. John Horse and his followers had to navigate treacherous terrain and hostile forces, but their determination to find freedom drove them forward. In 1849, they arrived in northern Mexico, where they were welcomed by the Mexican government. The decision to move to Mexico marked a new chapter in John Horse's life, as he became a key figure in the Mexican government's efforts to protect its northern border from Native American raids. In exchange for land and protection, John Horse and his followers agreed to serve as border guards, defending Mexico from the incursions of Comanche and Apache warriors. John Horse's leadership in Mexico further cemented his legacy as a freedom fighter and protector of his people. In Mexico, he built a thriving community of African Americans and Seminoles who lived in relative peace and autonomy. The Mexican government, recognizing his leadership and military skills, granted him a position of authority, effectively making him a ruler of the region. John Horse's unique position as a black man leading both African Americans and Native Americans in a foreign country was a remarkable achievement, one that underscored his resilience and determination to secure freedom for his people. The final years of John Horse's life were marked by continued efforts to protect his community and ensure their survival. He remained in Mexico until the 1860s, when political instability in the region forced him to return to the United States. Even in his later years, John Horse continued to fight for the rights of African Americans and Native Americans, advocating for their freedom and dignity until his death in 1882. John Horse's legacy is one of extraordinary courage, leadership, and resilience. His life spanned multiple conflicts and challenges, yet he consistently emerged as a leader who fought for the freedom and rights of his people. From his role in the Seminole Wars to his leadership in Indian Territory in Mexico, John Horse demonstrated an unwavering commitment to justice and equality. His story serves as a powerful reminder of the interconnected struggles of African Americans and Native Americans in the face of systemic oppression. Though often overlooked in traditional narratives, John Horse's contributions to history are profound, offering a unique perspective on the fight for freedom in 19th century America. The story of John Horse is also a testament to the enduring legacy of Black and Native American solidarity. His life exemplifies the complex and often overlooked alliances that formed between these two groups in their shared struggle against colonialism and slavery. The fact that John Horse, a man of African descent, could rise to a position of leadership within the Seminole Nation and later establish a free community in Mexico speaks to the possibilities of cooperation and resistance in the face of overwhelming odds. His legacy remains a powerful symbol of resilience, leadership, and the quest for freedom that continues to inspire future generations.